Welcome in to the Blanket Coverage Podcast. Jack, it's a little bittersweet today. And it's sweet because the Titans are already in the playoffs. You know, my fandom is not personally on the line today. But it's the last week of Red Zone and of a full day of NFL action. Today is the last day that you and me will be able to post up on the couch and watch nothing but football all day.
Sadly, that will not be the case for me today. I'm busy doing stuff all day in Dallas, and then I'll be at the Mavericks game tonight. I'm still on vacation time out here in Texas. So that will not be my case today. I will be keeping track of everything. Again, if my team was a little more relevant, perhaps I would. I know today is the Falcons against the Saints, which is our always hated rivalry. We actually got the Saints in the decrepit Superdome earlier this year and now have the chance to sweep them in the first season of Arthur Smith, which would be beautiful. And I would offer him an extension just for that. Just kidding, I would not. But I would be very happy with them. Because no matter how bad we are, if we beat the Saints twice in a year, I really don't care what our record is. We could be 2-15 now. Would not care if we beat the Saints twice. So happy for that. But we have a lot to talk about today. We have a whole lot coming in last week and a bunch, of course, for this week. But the first thing that we'll do just to kick us off here is look at the playoff picture. Now, the playoff picture has changed pretty significantly since last time. But so far, we have 6 teams that have won their divisions and are good to go, along with a few more that are already in regardless. And that is the current 1 seed Kansas City Chiefs, the current 2 seed Tennessee Titans, the 3 seed Cincinnati Bengals have all won their divisions. And then the 4 seed Buffalo Bills have clinched playoffs, but have not won their division quite yet up in the AFC East. In the NFC, the Packers are at number 1, and they have clinched a 1 seed, and they have clinched their division, obviously. 2 seed is the Rams. Despite being that high of a seed, they actually have not clinched their division yet, but they're pretty high odds at 77%. 3 seed is the Bucs, and 4 seed is the Cowboys. Both those teams have gone ahead and clinched their divisions. None of those seedings are actually clinched yet. The seedings are a little iffy. We'll get to that in a minute. Wildcard teams for the AFC are the Pats, the Colts, and the Chargers. Patriots have clinched. Colts are at 88%. They're incredibly likely to clinch. And then Chargers only 51%. NFC wildcard, Cardinals have clinched. Niners have not yet, 61%. And then the Eagles, the 7 seed, have clinched their loss to the Cowboys last night, pretty much ensured that they will be keeping that 7 seed. In the hunt, the Raiders have 53% chance. Raiders, if they beat the Chargers, are in. If the Chargers beat the Raiders, they are in. So the winner of that game is in. I'm pretty sure that's how it works. I know that the Chargers are in. So the Chargers are in if they win. The Raiders are in if they win. But the Chargers are out if they lose. But the Raiders actually still have a shot if they lose. So losing is not doing the Raiders yet. That's why those odds are a little bit higher.
You didn't get to the most important point.
That was the last part. If these teams happen to tie, the Chargers get in. The Raiders actually don't get in yet because they need one other event to happen. And that would be the Indianapolis Colts losing to the Jacksonville Jaguars. If that happens, which again, low odds, terrible odds, in fact. But if the Jaguars happen to beat Colts, if it's a tie, and that means a 0-0 tie, like they don't even have to play football. They literally can just kneel it the entire game. They do not have to play football. Both teams will get in. And here's the other fun part about this. The Jaguars have beaten the Colts. I think it's in Jacksonville, right? Yeah, the last time that Indianapolis has won in Jacksonville, mind you, they play every season, 2014. So somehow, some way, the Jaguars have been incredibly good against the Colts in the last few seasons. So this situation, while incredibly unlikely, is indeed possible. So I don't know how, but some way we could see some craziness happen. Of course, this could all be for nothing, and the Raiders could win, and then it's all
the
fun.
But hunt, Jack. I love the playoff.
It's a lot of fun,
specifically because there is a result today in which the best team of all time. If you watched ESPN this whole year, you'd think they were the best team of all time. You'd think they were the '85 Bears or like the undefeated Don Shula Dolphins. I can't wait until the Indianapolis Colts lose to Jacksonville and don't make the playoffs. That would be I wouldn't care if the Titans lose to the Texans today and end up at the 3 seed. I would not care so long as Indianapolis does not make the playoffs.
See, here's the funny thing, though. If the Colts lose to the Jags, and I'm actually, I know I did this before. I'm going to pull this up so y'all can see more what I'm talking about in real time. But this is quite the interesting thing right here. Let me get to share screen. But looking at the game itself, as you can see right here, if the Colts lose to Jacksonville and the Chargers win, they still miss the playoffs. So the Colts don't even need to worry about a tie. There's actually a very likely scenario, again, if they lose, that they don't make it. Now, if it's the other way around and the Raiders win, Raiders are locked up, but the Colts are still available. But then look at the Steelers. The Steelers will have a 50% chance of making it. And if they beat Baltimore, then welcome to the playoffs, Pittsburgh. But if they lose,
I'll gladly welcome the Pittsburgh Steelers and Ben Roethlisberger's old decrepit corpse of a body into the playoffs.
Well, then
as
if
long
they
as
lose,
I don't ever have to see or hear about Jonathan Taylor again.
So let's say the Ravens win with Tyler Huntley, then Pittsburgh is eliminated, and then the last game up that matters is Patriots-Dolphins, which the Pats don't have anything to fight for. If the Pats win, Colts are out, Ravens are in. But if the Pats lose, then Colts are back in the playoffs.
We're playing some
frankly they should win that game. So
games here. I love
I'm just saying, but I'm just saying that all we need. The thing is, though, is the Ravens very much could beat the Steelers. That's not out of the question. The Chargers could easily beat the Raiders. Both those teams are pretty much neck and neck. Anybody could win that game. And the Patriots are probably favored to beat Miami. So if you have those three there, and yeah, they lose, the Colts lose that game, that's win or loss you're in.
But
so that's what's kind of crazy here. If these games happen like they honestly very much could, that game for the Colts, you win, you're in, you're losing, you're out.
But all very this possible. To say, I don't really think the Colts are going to lose to the Jags today, and the Colts Colts are winning in.
No, I'm very aware that the odds are very much stacked against the Jaguars.
No, but we love this. This is what we did for the college football playoffs. It's just like, imagine if in college football there was a mathematical scenario in which you know what was going to happen with each result, and you don't have to rely on some dumb committee of athletic directors who don't even watch the games.
Oh, no, but that's way more fun because then we get to fight about it and be angry all the time instead of saying, oh, this is a great system that works. Also, thank you, Adrian EA, for the comment, don't know sports with the basketball emoji. I'm not sure what it means, but we like comments. So I don't know if it means you don't like sports or we don't know sports. Either way, this is not about basketball, but we appreciate the basketball.
Well, it is not about basketball, but we can talk about basketball. If you got a basketball question, send it in. We'll talk about it.
Oh yeah, we're always down for questions. These teams all listed here. There's not really a point to talk about any of them, but all of these teams are eliminated, and none of their games essentially matter too much this week. Some of them do pull some strings, but at least for their own sake, all of these teams here are eliminated. But shout out Washington. We're going to have a kind of a mini talk about them in a couple of weeks, not right now, but in a little less than a month, because they will be debuting a new name and a new uniform, new everything. It only took 2 years to do it, so, it's pretty difficult, I see, clearly, for the heads up there in D.C., but they finally will be getting something new. The top rumors right now are the Washington Armada and the Washington Commanders, which make me want to hurt something, because those names are terrible and it's Washington and no one will take them seriously, even if they name themselves. They can name themselves anything. I have heard that Washington Redskins is back on the table. That name is all of a sudden available. So if they did want to take that name, I've heard it was popular for a while, so that they could take that. Though, with that kidding aside, I would actually think it'd be funny if they stuck with Washington football team. It's kind of grown on me a little bit. So I'm kind of sad that we're moving on from the Washington football team era, just because that was such a good meme name, with such a weird team. So I thought that would be funny. But Good old Washington football team doing a lot of football things.
The Washington football. Honestly, I think they should just keep the football team.
That's what I'm saying. You might just keep it. Who cares?
At first, everyone is like, this is really dumb, but then they kind of ran with it. They have the perfect color scheme to just be the football team. And
it's definitely actually dumb, but it's funny.
It's actually unique. I mean, from the jump, they should have just been the Washington Football Club. Call themselves Washington FC. I realize that this is not soccer, but it is football.
It's close enough.
Football Americano.
Football versus football. It's all there. We now can transition on to our Week 17 recap. This is going to be a slimmed-down version of it, given the fact that we just have a lot of games to do, and we'll sort of cut it down. And we're going to start off with our game of the week here. And our game of the week was one that was our unintentional game of the week, is my way to word that. This game was not supposed to be the game of the week, but it ended up being probably the most important game of the week. And this one was the Tampa Bay Buccaneers up against the New York Giants in a game that we thought was going to be very boring, and we didn't really bother to watch. Yet that was not the case, because in this game, we had the perhaps you could say final nail in the coffin of the Antonio Brown Bucs saga. If to catch up on the lore of this, AB had been back and forth a million times in and out of a lot of different teams. He had the whole meltdown with the Raiders a few years ago when he got traded there and refused to play with the whole helmet issue. He had the whole situation with the Patriots where he was on there for 10 minutes. And then he's with Tampa Bay, won a ring last year. And then this season, he was really angry. They were losing to the Jets. Apparently, according to Antonio, which is fair to be angry to losing the Jets. I don't knock him for that. But according to Antonio Brown, after the fact, he did say that he had a lingering ankle injury. He was unable to play, and he was telling the coaches, I cannot play. And basically the coaches said, screw you, you have to play. And Antonio Brown just sort of laughed and was like, well, I'm not going to do that. And then took off his pads, took off his jersey, put it on the ground, and just started running away to the end zone and just started vibing out there and just ran off in the locker room. He threw his gloves and his shirt into the stands, and people then asked why he was running and jumping around despite an ankle injury, and he said that he had been pumped full of a ton of different painkillers. And so that's the story according to Antonio Brown. Obviously, looking at it live on TV was absolutely wild. Antonio Brown has very obviously been cut from the team. He is no longer a Buccaneer officially. And, of course, Brady ends up rallying this team back to beat the Jets because, again, it's the Jets. In fact, after that meltdown of Brown, it was, I think, what was it, a 18-0 run for Tampa Bay after he left. And again, it's again the Jets. I had no point in my mind that the Jets were going to win this game. Absolutely no point that I thought. Again, up 14 late in the third quarter, no doubt the Bucs are winning this game. And it's not even a Brady thing. It's just because they're playing the Jets. I had no faith. So, congrats to the Bucs for winning a game. They really didn't even need to win this game. The Bucs have no chance of getting the 1 seed. It's impossible now with Green Bay capturing it. So basically, you're just playing for the 2 seed. But obviously, the Jets had no advantage winning here. But strange game.
The game is beside the point. The Antonio Brown situation, it's to the point where it's like the boy who cried wolf at this point. We can sit here and say we're listening to Antonio Brown and that Bruce Arians shouldn't have forced him to go into the game if he's hurt. But I also believe that to a certain extent, Antonio Brown should trust the doctors on the staff who no doubt have told Bruce Arians by this point, hey, AB should be good to go. AB was activated for this game. Why didn't this come up before the game, before AB dressed out and showed up for the game? Why wasn't this discussed before? And at this point with Antonio Brown, even if it wasn't his fault, even if he was in the right here, even if he really couldn't have played because of his ankle, it's still Antonio Brown. And this is still a situation where if he's in the right, he's still wrong because he's the boy who cried wolf.
But you also can't run away from your team. And that
No,
to me
no,
is
no,
what
no.
makes
This is
that's
what
what
I'm
frustrates.
saying.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Even if Antonio Brown was in the right, he made himself wrong here. He made himself wrong either way, even if he couldn't run on his ankle. Then he goes on the Nelk Boys podcast, the Full Send podcast, which I watched. I was in one of those, the state of mind you get in late night when you've just got the same episode of Sports Center running for like the third time at like 1 a.m. That was the point I got to with the Sports Center where they were talking about Antonio Brown's appearance on the podcast with the Nelk Boys, who are a bunch of Canadian YouTube prankster dudes. Either way, it seemed like he couldn't string 4 coherent thoughts together. He couldn't string together 3 thoughts in a row that all made sense. And it makes me feel sad for him, but I mean, anyone with a functioning brain can see that AB needs some serious psychological help right now beyond just
It's a sad situation, and it's been going on
sad to
for a
watch.
while. It's been and I don't know how much of this was things like the perfect hit a few years ago, or if there's something up with him on a physical level that's caused mental problems. But like
He can't string coherent thoughts together. He doesn't make any sense when he's talking.
yeah, and obviously we say all this not making fun. We're like we are legitimately concerned for a guy that isn't.
It's like,
it's very bizarre.
if one of my friends was talking like that and couldn't string together 3 coherent thoughts, I'd be like, "Hey, man, what's going on? Like, you're not making any sense when you speak." But instead, AB decides to get millions of views and then syndicate that to all the outlets just to tell his side of the story, when telling his side of the story actually made it look worse, not because of the story, because of how he told it, because of the things that he said. It wasn't what actually happened. It becomes how AB phrased all of this stuff. And now he's just coming off like an asshole.
Yeah, it's digging the hole deeper. I have no idea if this is going to be the end of his career or not within the NFL, if any other teams are going to be willing to take any kind of chance on him or what he would offer. Or, I mean, I think it's pretty safe to say this would be the end of it for this season, given we're going into week 18, and I highly doubt anyone's going to be lapping him up right now. But this will be an ongoing story. We have certainly not heard the last of this. But
Mount Rushmore of diva NFL players, Antonio Brown is like right in Lincoln's spot.
No, he probably built it.
Diva wide receiver.
It's up there. But we can now transition to a game that I actually was in attendance for, which is my first game in the North for an NFL game, at least north enough to be near Canada. I actually did go to a Giants game, but I mean like Canadian North, as north as you can get. And I went to the Atlanta Falcons.
Play a different sport than the Bills.
That's true. The Giants don't technically play football, so they don't count here. But Buffalo, they play football up there. This was a snowy and miserable weather day, but I was still happy to be there. A 29-15 scoreline was your final. Buffalo defeats Atlanta and inches closer to getting the AFC East title. This was a weird game, though, and I'm pointing this out not just because I went to this game, but it was a very bizarre game. And it was a bizarre game because Josh Allen had pretty much, I think you can definitively say, his worst passing day in his entire career. I don't think you can get worse than that. He had 120 yards, 11 for 26 passing, 3 picks, no touchdowns. He did get 2 rushing scores, which helped him out a lot, but wow, he was bad passing. And part of that, I think, was the Falcons' defense did play well. But again, watching all the plays here, there were a lot of passes he overthrew badly, he looked a little lost in this game entirely. I'm not sure what it was, but he just looked very off. Atlanta actually opened the game with a safety. It was right after our opening drive. The ball fumbled the back of the end zone, and Buffalo recovered. So it was 2-0 Atlanta. And then back-to-back Josh Allen rushing touchdowns made it look like this game was pretty much over 14-2. But then a Falcons field goal, a Mike Davis touchdown run, and then a turnover followed by another field goal. It was 15-14 Atlanta. And then even crazier, the third quarter opened up with another Josh Allen pick, and Atlanta was at the 35-yard line up by 1. And that was it. After that, it was 15-0 for the Bills. In fact, Matt Ryan had a potential touchdown to bring the game back to 1 score, but was ruled down beforehand in a very questionable call. Matt Ryan then stood up and started jawing a little bit. I think it was at Micah Hyde. And then the refs ruled taunting and no touchdown. So instead of a touchdown, it was 3rd and 15. So, of course, the next 2 passes were incomplete, and that was the end of the game. But Matt Ryan was very angry, which, you know what, he should have been, because if our rush defense is that bad, it's that bad. But here's the other point about this game, too. Even though Josh Allen was held to very little today, Atlanta's pass rush might be one of the worst pass rushes I've ever seen in my entire life.
Atlanta's
terrible.
Atlanta's front 7, and really we can extend this to both sides of the ball. Atlanta on the line of scrimmage is getting killed this year. And that's why I think they're going to have trouble against New Orleans, because what does New Orleans do really well? They control the lines of scrimmage because they've got a good D-line and a good front 7, and they've got a good O-line. And regardless of who's under center there, you know they're going to be well coached. And you know they're going to be strong on the lines of scrimmage. Atlanta's rush defense this year, talk about the rush offense. The rushing offense has been bad, good for last in the league. But the rush defense is up there. Atlanta's sitting at 26th this year in rushing defense. And that's what enables a team like Buffalo, who doesn't run the ball, to come in and run the ball all over you when they're having their worst passing day of the season.
We're just not a good team. I mean, it's very obvious. We aren't a good team.
But you're in NF. I mean, you're in kind of this is what's tough, and we'll talk about this a lot more as the off season comes along, because we'll get to our teams. But this is kind of one of the last chances we're going to get to talk about the Falcons, because before the off season, Falcons are.
I have plenty to talk about in the exit interview. Don't get me wrong.
The Falcons are in the NBA 8 seed play-in category. They are the NFL equivalent of the Indiana Pacers or the Sacramento Kings, where you can't get that top pick. You're not bad enough to get the top pick, but you're still finding ways to win games, yet you don't get the benefit of having that high draft pick to stack your roster every single year. And I realize it's a little bit different with basketball, and there's a higher hit rate in the first round as far as NBA players are concerned. It's a little bit more of a crapshoot in football, and you have 7 rounds in the draft, and you can get a really quality starter pretty much anywhere in the first 2 rounds. But Atlanta is desperately approaching the circle of mediocrity.
You say approaching like we haven't been mediocre or bad for the last
Well, here's the thing. It's got to come full circle. It's got to come all the way full circle. There has to be multiple years of mediocrity and middling draft picks and almost making the playoffs. We've done that for 4 years now. Okay, so we are definitively saying that the Falcons are in the circle of suck, the cycle of mediocrity.
We have been in the cycle. Our franchise is the definition of the cycle of mediocrity. It's always been our entire. I mean, we've only had 2 seasons where we actually were a very solid world-beating level team, and both times we failed to do anything because the first time we weren't really the top of the top. We just had a fantastic game against the Vikings to make it to the Super Bowl, and then John Elway eviscerated us. And then you get to the next time where we actually were a really good team, and then we just choked away everything. So yeah, since that year we've not been good. We've not been awful, but
without getting too much into it, are you thinking hard reset or soft rebuild?
I don't know about this season because the question I have is money. Money's the problem here because, and this is where we can dive. We're going to dive more into this on the exit review right now.
Yeah, no, they've worked themselves into salary cap hell. Not as bad as the Saints, though.
No, not as bad as the Saints.
The Saints are projected to be $60 million above the cap next year.
Which makes me very happy. But no, I think the biggest thing we need to do is we need to draft edge rushing, and we need to rebuild the offensive line through free agency, because we've tried so many times to get these young guys on the O-line off of the draft, and it never has worked, and it wastes draft picks for us, and we just I can't take it anymore. We have to look for edge rushing. We need to get that stronger. It's so bad. Grady Jarrett's the only competent player on that front four, and he's getting killed. So we need to have someone else. So that's my 2 cents, because we got to move on and cover the other games. But that's what I think we should do. I'll get into way more detail. Trust me, when we get to X interviews, which, again, some of my favorite stuff of the season, we do that. But very much looking forward to that. Next up, we can move on to one of the game of the year contenders. If you want to talk about this, go on ahead.
We've got 2 things to talk about here, and they intersect with one another. So let's first talk about Tennessee's evisceration of the Miami Dolphins. The Titans absolutely looked like a team on a mission, and say all you want about the Miami Dolphins and were they a good team and who were the quarterbacks that they faced in their 7-game win streak. The first team, by the way, to ever win 7 games in a row in a season and also lose 7 games in a row in a season. However, the 7-game win streak came to an abrupt end.
Oh, we're talking about Miami. Okay, so I thought we were.
Yeah. No, I'm setting up KC versus Cincinnati, and this is all going to tie full circle.
Okay.
Go
ahead.
Titans eviscerate the Dolphins. I think the Dolphins were pretty overrated all year. However, any team that wins 7 games in a row in the NFL, that's a hard feat to accomplish. You don't just go win 7 games in a row in the NFL just because you feel like it. That's a really tough thing to do. And the Titans were able to end that win streak, putting them in position where we don't need to talk about that game. That game was pretty cut and dried. It was a Tennessee blowout. But the Chiefs and the Bengals were finishing up around the same time. Now, the Chiefs last week had a game up on the Titans. The Titans own a tiebreaker over the Chiefs. So I was a huge Bengals fan last week. And what did the Bengals do? Joe Burrow over 500 yards with some of the cockiest, most disrespectful throws I've ever seen. It's literally, and he said this in the press conference, it's literally like, fuck it, Jamar Chase is down there somewhere.
Which he said. He literally said that in the interview. It's like the meme, which he referenced the meme.
Like
he's
the
like,
meme was like, fuck it, Jamar Chase is down there somewhere. Joe Burrow is disrespecting NFL cornerbacks right now. I mean, Jamar Chase is disrespecting them too. But Joe Burrow will see his guy one-on-one and go, yep, there. But it's almost Rodgers-esque the way that Joe Burrow can just drop it in the bucket. The accuracy that he puts on the ball, the way that he throws the back shoulder to Jamar Chase, the connection that he has with Jamar Chase, where Joe Burrow doesn't have to place the ball perfectly every single time. Jamar Chase will just find it. He's a vacuum cleaner. It's eerily similar to me. And again, they play a different style. It's not quite as polished, but it reminds me a lot of Adams and Rodgers. It really does.
No, and that's the kind of game they play. As much as I hate to be a Falcons fan and how much it pains me, I'm just very glad I'm not a Ravens, Browns, or a Steelers fan, because then I would have to hate Joe Burrow. But yeah, this guy is unbelievable. Jamar Chase is like not even close running away with Offensive Rookie of the Year. It's almost kind of a joke to compare to anyone else at this point. And yeah, this team has been incredibly impressive. Bengals with this win clinch the AFC North, which is a crazy sentence to say. but the Bengals did it this year. They have been outperforming everyone in that division. We'll get to how disappointing that division is later on. We can get to our exit interviews, but really impressive game here. We do need to keep moving on though, because we're starting to get thin on time for me at least, because I'm still doing a bunch today, so we gotta move on. But next up we have the Indianapolis Colts up against the Las Vegas Raiders. And this one was hilarious because the Raiders actually won this game, which neither of us predicted this at all. Which that was fair of us not to predict this.
But wait.
Wouldn't have thought that.
I thought the Colts were the most talented, best team of all time with 7 Pro Bowlers on their roster.
As a neutral fan here, because obviously you are not a neutral fan, but which is okay, but as a neutral fan, they're still 9-7, and even 9-6 coming into this game. Did they overperform their season expectations? Absolutely. Is Jonathan Taylor playing like an elite running back in football? 100%. Is this game not on him? Also, yes, because this was the first time all season that he ran for over 100 yards and did not get a victory too, which also shows to the fact that we forget about the Colts still have Carson Wentz as a quarterback. So there's still things that are tough for them.
We don't forget.
Oh, no, I didn't mean No,
I will never forget that Carson Wentz is captaining the Colts.
I mean we as a society, not me as an individual. Of course, I will always make fun of Carson Wentz. You know that I don't let Carson Wentz slide when he does dumb things. And he really wasn't even that terrible on this game because he had 16 for 27, 148 yards and a touchdown. He was by far not the worst quarterback that played in this week's football. So I'm not saying that. The bigger issue is the fact that the Colts basically dominated the entire third quarter and had pretty high odds to win the entire third quarter, and then completely blew away the fourth quarter. That was their problem. So that was the issue here, is that the Colts went down, got a field goal with 2 minutes to go, and then let Derek Carr drive all the way down and get a field goal to end the game, which I do have to say, just on a side note, those are my least favorite NFL games. When a team scores a field goal with like 2 minutes left, and the other team goes like 40 yards and kicks a field goal to win. I never find those games fun.
Let me stop you here. You're saying that the best team in the league, the most talented team of all time, the media darling, the team you don't want to see in the playoffs, is 9-7 and didn't even win their division?
Okay. You act like no other teams are getting any kind of attention either. The Colts are only getting all this is because since Henry's injury and really over the whole season, there have been a lot of players that have outperformed expectations for Indy. Just like what we had preseason, which most everyone else had too, no one had any expectations for the Colts to really do a lot this season, and they've genuinely had a solid year. No matter what you say, they've had a solid year. So
it must be really tough that after all this, the Colts are still fighting for their lives in Week 18, and by the divisional round of the playoffs, Jonathan Taylor will no longer be the best running back in the league.
All I'm saying is that the Bucs need to win their division either. You don't need to win a division to still – and I get it's a totally different team, but I'm just saying that you don't necessarily need to – you can be barely making the playoffs and still make a run or easily be in and choke early.
No.
Which we know. That's why – that's the reason why
we forget that Carson Wentz is actually Tom Brady.
I do. I'm okay. You know what I mean, though, and I'm also saying too that I still have very, very high convictions that there's going to be some kind of stupid fluke where the Packers don't win the Super Bowl despite having this incredible of a team. Something's going to happen. So every time.
It's called the Tennessee Titans.
No, it's called somebody in the NFC. I still think they're watch them choke and not make the Super Bowl. Watch it happen. Next up, we have.
Trust me, I don't want to see Rodgers in the Super Bowl.
No, I don't think he'd blow if he made it. But Arizona versus Dallas is our last game we're going to highlight here of this week. Most of the other games end up not being as significant. And this one was probably second in game of the week. Cardinals outlast the Cowboys with the controversial no call and a fumble, and they do stay in the race for the NFC West. Dallas do officially lose the 1 seed possibilities, and they also lose Michael Gallup to an ACL tear. So not the best week for the Cowboys. We'll get to their Week 18 performance pretty soon. But, this game was one that I think we actually both called Dallas here because we both were kind of out on Arizona winning this game. But but this is a pretty impressive win. Obviously, Arizona needed to win this game. The Cowboys have played very solidly all season. Gallup actually had a touchdown before his ACL tear. But the Cardinals were kind of supposed to win this game kind of the whole time. Only a few points throughout the entire contest were the Cardinals not favored to win, with the exceptions the very beginning and a bunch during the end of the first quarter. But overall, this is a very solid game for Arizona. They actually never trailed, despite the Cowboys scoring very late to bring it to be a 3-point game. But yeah, this was a very impressive game for the Cardinals. We know they've been really, really high and then really, really low, but I think they could still be an interesting team come playoff time. I know we'll get to them a little bit more down the road,
this was the nap game. This was the nap game of the week. I went to sleep in the first half thinking the Cowboys were going to win, having bet on the Cowboys, and then woke up in the fourth quarter going, what the hell is going on here?
Yeah, that's not ideal there.
That's Sunday scaries.
Indeed. Now we can transition to our NFC and AFC players and teams of the week. And for me, in the NFC, I just have the Rodgers and Adams connection. Really, just the combination of both those has been ridiculous. They did an excellent job this week as they tore the Vikings apart in a very predictable win. That win actually got them the 1 seed this week. So that did not really surprise me at all. So that got that. And then my team of the week for the NFC is the Arizona Cardinals for getting past a tough Cowboys team. So what's your NFC player of the week?
My NFC player of the week is Antonio Brown.
Sadly, no longer can be an NFC player of the week anymore, but he got it this week.
Yeah. No, I had to give it to Antonio Brown because for all the shit that I've talked about, Antonio Brown, if this is Antonio Brown's last game in the NFL, which it might be, but also I think they would give Ted Bundy a contract if he could throw a tight spiral.
That's not wrong.
Antonio Brown, if not for his own doing and him being a certifiably mentally unstable person, Antonio Brown would be a top 5 receiver of all time. Talent-wise, he is a top 5 wide receiver of all time. You look at the run that he had for 3-4 years in Pittsburgh. It's up there with some of the best. I mean, 100-plus receptions. We're talking 1,400 yards. We're talking 12 touchdowns. We're talking big wide receiver numbers, big boy receiver numbers. And he still has that talent. He's not past his prime. It's the fact that he can't stay on the field at this point in his career. And at this point, he can't get on the field. But I did want to shout out Antonio Brown for just taking his shirt off and running off the field. I was surprised we didn't get the Ohio State double birds. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, that also could have happened. Mind you, it was at the Jets too. Just to mind you, I didn't mention that earlier, but this game was at the Jets, which made it all the more funny.
Yeah, and the Jets fans were like getting hype as AB was. There was a game going on the field, by the way, and AB was like in the end zone, like jumping.
Yeah, this was not during a timeout. This was during the game.
No, this was like during the football game,
which is the best part. That it was.
I remember watching it on Red Zone, and Scott Hansen was so confused. I've never seen Scott Hansen more confused in my life.
Scott Hansen was in shambles.
Anyway, my NFC team of the week is Green Bay. We can move on. We can
stop about AB. My AFC player team of the week player is sadly Devin Singletary, and not because he ran all over the Falcons, but more the fact that the Bills had to basically completely change up their game plan to win a game that was not looking their direction, and it ended up going their way. And I do think that if they played like this against most other teams, that would not have happened. But Devin Singletary did quite literally put the team on his back and ended up succeeding. So I got to give him credit there.
I think it's super important for them. I think it's super important they got the right.
They needed that. They needed that going, which again was unfortunate for my sake, but was still fun to be there. Bills fans are indeed insane. They're crazy. It was so much fun though. Like it's not a knock on them. They're just like the passion in that fan base is ridiculous.
When the Bills fans invaded Nashville for Monday Night Football, I was like prepared for the storm, and they couldn't have been any nicer. The Bills fans were so nice, great people.
I got knocked on for being a Falcons fan, but it was the most like I don't know how to word it, but it was like the most like kind of fun knocking
The
on. Like
people
there was
of
never any
Western
like
New York.
nobody was mad. Nobody was like angry or like
Yeah.
it wasn't like Philly fans. But it was more like when I was walking by, for example, because it was snowing, I wrote "Rise Up" in like the snow on like a plaque, and a Bills fan behind me like wipes it off, and he's like, "No, no, no, don't you be doing that!" And I was like, "Ah, I got you." It was the most
They're
like having fun. Like they were never. It was very
an
much a fun
incredibly
time.
nice bunch, an elite
Yeah,
fan base.
yeah, they are. I did actually see a few broken tables going back to the car at the end of the game, which I was
I
very
saw
happy.
your picture
I
of
was
that.
very happy to see that. But no, they were very welcoming, very inviting. They were a good group of folks. I actually did see one group, which just to mention this before we move on, because I thought this was really funny. But the Bills fan was sitting there, and he had Bills hat on and a Georgia jersey. And I was like, "Are you a Georgia fan?" He's like, "Oh yeah, I'm a huge Georgia fan." And my friend next to me is a huge UT fan. He wore a UT jersey, and I was like, "And I'm Falcons, Georgia Tech, TCU." And they just looked at me and laughed, and they were like, "Man, you can't win today, huh?" And I was like, "No, I can't." But it was just so funny. Like, what are the odds? The people sitting right
Yeah.
behind us were Georgia,
That's
UT.
your arch nemesis.
I was like, "That's crazy." And so I just thought that was just a wild coincidence of I'm like the
That's funny.
only person in this stadium that has a Georgia Tech background and went to TCU. There's no way anyone else in that stadium had that. So I was like,
Yeah.
that's pretty cool. But lastly, my AFC team of the week is Cincinnati. Just for a big win. I think that's a pretty easy pick right there.
Yeah. My AFC team of the week, player of the week, Jamar Chase, broke the rookie receiving record, over 200 yards receiving.
Yeah,
I think it's
insane.
pretty obvious. And my team of the week is Cincinnati for getting the job done, paving the way for the Titans to clinch the number 1 overall seed. But I thought our season was over, Stephen A.
Oh, you can't listen to. Oh, that just doesn't count. Come on now, you can't put all that.
You
stuff
wasn't
in
the
there.
only one who said the Titans season was over.
Yeah, but you're also realizing that they got to get clicks and got to say boisterous things. So it boils down to a bunch of nonsense.
Everyone
But we
likes to
know.
say boisterous things about the Titans.
Speaking of
You
saying
need to check
boisterous
out my
things,
Twitter if you haven't, because I went on a rampage
Oh, I figured.
last Sunday.
But speaking of boisterous things that probably will get wrong, lock of the week is up next, which I am horrific in, but we're going to test it out again. And this week, I'm going to go with Washington minus 6.5 against the New York Giants, purely because the Giants' offense has been one of the most impressive things I've ever seen in my life. And I think they're going to blow it. So I'm going to go with Washington in this game to go ahead and cover.
I'm going with Green Bay. We don't know how much of this game Rodgers is going to play. We don't know really how many players for Green Bay are going to play. But I'm going with Green Bay minus 3 because I just trust the Packers. I trust their coaching staff. I trust even the back end of their roster. And they're playing the Detroit Lions. So Packers minus 3.
It's an easy one.
Yeah.
Now we have the Week 18 preview and picks. We're going to try to pretty much streamline this just to not take too much time up. But the two games that have already happened that obviously we will not be previewing is Kansas City against Denver and Dallas versus Philly. KC ended up winning this game and actually a really back-and-forth game. Tyreek Hill was dealing with an injury, so he was really bad in this game, but Kelsey got a touchdown. KC was actually down 4 in the third quarter. They outscored Denver 11-3 in the fourth. Denver ends their season at 7-10, and Chiefs again haven't clinched the 1 seed, but are currently the number 1 seed as we were talking, but do need a Titans loss. Vic Fangio is also now fired. The Broncos head coach is now officially out and done, so the Broncos will be shopping for a new head coach. So pretty predictable there. But yeah, this game was a very weird one, but Kansas City still got the job done. Any other side notes on this?
No, Vic Fangio fired after I picked him for Coach of the Year.
Oh, I forgot about that. Oh, no.
Yep. But,
Well,
hey, I couldn't be happier with the real Coach of the Year, Mike Vrabel.
Oh, yeah.
Vrabes up in that
other
way.
There you go. Other way.
Yeah. That corner.
Yeah,
Shout out Vrabes.
I guess that way. And lastly, for this Saturday slate, we have Dallas versus Philadelphia. This game, we both predicted Dallas would win. Oh boy, who's shocked? Dallas put 1 billion points on Philly in an easy win. Second game this year at 50-plus points. Prescott gets 5 touchdowns and breaks the record for the most passing TDs in a single season in Cowboys history. And he only played 16 games, so that's actually I know a lot of people are talking about 17 games, if that really counts as a record or not, because it's an extra game. But this one definitely does, because he actually did it in the same amount of games as – was this an Aikman record? The Romo record.
The Romo record.
Romo record. Okay, Romo record. Also, 51-26 is a scoregami. So I love that. We don't
Over
see scoregami as a
first half. Gotta love that.
Love that.
Bet the
Awesome.
over. Look away.
Very, very easy. So, of course, we both are 2-0 to start the week here, because we both had Kansas City and we both had Dallas in games that were fairly predictable, I think. So with that record, Noah is 160-89-1. I am 170-79-1. And so what's at stake here? We'll sort of do all the what's at stake. I wrote a lot down for it, but we're just going to go by the picks we do. So we're just going to get to that as we come. Again, Saturday games we both predicted correctly, so we don't need to go over those picks because they were already locked in. But we now can start off with the New Orleans Saints and the Atlanta Falcons up here in the ATL. And this game, my pick is dependent upon Kyle Pitts. Because if Kyle Pitts ends up playing this game and he is okay and good to play, I do think Atlanta can pull this off, because I think the Falcons want it that badly. The hatred for these teams is quite unbelievable. I do understand that New Orleans has a lot to play for, but the Falcons will do anything in their existence to make sure that the Saints don't make the playoffs. But I think without Pitts, they aren't good enough to do it. But I think with Pitts, the Falcons are good enough to do it, because we figured out the Saints. We tend to play better against New Orleans than the rest of our competition most years. We already beat them in New Orleans. I get Simeon was starting at quarterback, but still. I trust Atlanta if Pitts can play. If he doesn't play, I don't think they'll be there, because then I think we're going to sit a lot of other players. And if we do that, this game could be an ugly one to watch. So my pick is kind of dependent on what ends up happening with Atlanta's players. Not as much with New Orleans, but if Atlanta ends up sitting more, so that's kind of my waffly pick. But I'm going to kind of wait on that. Given that we're pretty close to kickoff, we'll see that pretty soon. But
I'm going with the Saints here. We talked about it earlier. I think Atlanta's really bad along the lines of scrimmage. I think New Orleans is going to, for the most part, be able to control the lines of scrimmage. And I think they're just a better coach team. I'm not sure Kyle Pitts really makes that big of a difference with how good the Saints defense has been playing this year. Obviously, a lot to play for still for the Saints. I'm going to make the easy pick here, and I'm going to go with the Saints. But next up, we've got Cincinnati versus Cleveland. No Joe Shiesty for the Bengals. No Baker Mayfield for Cleveland. And here's the thing. Yeah. So no Joe Burrow versus no Baker Mayfield. One of those things is subtraction, and the other one is addition by subtraction. Because no Baker Mayfield means we get Case Keenum, who might be a better NFL quarterback than Baker Mayfield. So I'm going with the Cleveland Browns here. They have nothing to play for. They're already eliminated, but I think they're going to come out and play hard.
This game
playing for seeding at this point.
This game really, really smells like a Chargers-Chiefs game from a couple years back, when the Chiefs were really good and played a middling Chargers team, and the Chargers won.
Yeah.
That's what this game feels like. That there's not really any kind of reason for the Browns to win this game, but it's more the fact that since he's kind of already looking ahead and benching everybody, that they're sort of like, who cares? That's why I think the Browns might win this.
The Browns are favored in this game by 6 points.
I think Vegas knows that. I think seriously, because since he's just going to come into this game and sort of be like, who cares? We're already in. There's nothing to play for. So and the Browns get the chance to screw their team over. I'm just saying. That's what I think. Next, we have a game that I would not really want to watch for obvious reasons, and that is Detroit versus Green Bay in Ford Stadium in the beautiful city of Detroit, Michigan. And I think that Green Bay is going to win this game easily, and they can have their entire second-string team in, and they would still win this game. So this is the other inverse example since Cleveland, where I think the gap is just too wide.
I already called it. Green Bay -3. We're going Green Bay. Money line here. Green Bay is going to win this game, even with their backups. Next up, Chicago versus Minnesota. And look, we've all given our friend Kirk and our friend Mike over in Minnesota. We've given them the business all year. I think we got one more for Mike Zimmer. I think we're just going to run it back one more time for the boy Mike Zimmer. And also, I think Matt Nagy could not go out on a better note than losing to the Vikings, who are awful this year. So,
I put in was just sort of remind you that a lot of the stuff that I put in on these picks is a little bit sort of waiting games because I'm trying to see who's actually in or not. But I just don't. Let me see. Sort of who's playing in here. Ooh, I forgot about that. Okay. So, once again, COVID's screwing up my picks. I thought Justin Fields was starting, and I thought just for the joke of it, he might be able to actually win this game. Well, he got COVID on Thursday. So Justin Fields is out for this game.
Oh, sick.
Which
are we getting Foles or are we getting Dalton? Because this is a big, big question.
Okay, I will actually look that up right now. Who are the Bears starting at quarterback this week? Yep. Apparently, as of 40 minutes ago, that no matter what happens today, Matt Nagy is going to get fired after today. That's now official. So, all right.
Finally,
Chicago fans rejoice.
Is Matt Nagy just like a slightly better Adam Gase?
Bears announced the quarterback today. Andy Dalton is starting a quarterback against the Vikings. Official.
All right. So I'm going to stick with the Vikings.
I'm going to change to that too because they're playing everyone that matters.
If we got Big Dick Nick in the game, if we got Big Dick Nick in the game, that's different.
I might consider him actually. I might consider him, but Dalton, I have no faith.
Yeah, no, I have no faith in Dalton. This one's going to be easy. The football team versus the Giants, and the Giants had negative 10 yards passing last week, which I believe is the worst. I believe
negative
is the
10
worst passing day in the history of the modern NFL. So for that reason, I will be picking Washington because the Giants are a joke of a franchise. Absolute poverty franchise. They have nothing going for them. They're going quickly downhill. And as someone who dislikes the Giants and never wants to see them on my television ever again, I'm happy for them. Truly happy. Just going down the toilet, entire franchise. Sell the team.
This is it's a shocking team. They're a shocking team to look at the Giants. Like, even though you think the Giants aren't any good, and you as in, like, America, it's just like, how can you be that incompetent every year? And they still manage to surprise you by doing it. I'll still never forget that picture that was all the Giants guys, including Odell on the boat, and, like, what their record is since the boat picture just progressively gets worse every time. I'd love to see what it is now. I don't know off the top of my head. But, yeah, Washington's going to win this game. Again, it was one of my locks a week. So, obviously, I have Washington winning this game easily. Next up, one of the big ones, which shouldn't be big, but it is anyway. And it is the Indianapolis Colts up against the Jacksonville Jaguars. And despite all the hoopla we made about this beforehand, I still think Indy's going to win this game fairly easily. It's still Jacksonville. Yeah. Trevor Lawrence has been, frankly, useless in this series so far, or really in any game so far. And not to knock on Trevor Lawrence because I know that he's still a rookie with absolutely nothing to work with. So I do feel for that. I really do. But he still isn't good, and he's still not doing anything, and this team has no hope. And they're 2-14, 2-6 at home. But here is the good news about this game, which is the reason why it might be worth to watch a little bit of it, is that all the Jags fans are showing up in clown costumes for this game to make fun of Shad Khan and the GM for not getting fired, basically, and for keeping the team in the perpetual state of suck. So,
and for interviewing Bill O'Brien for a head coaching job in 2021, which is the best part of the Jags season. Not the whole Urban Meyer saga, but the fact that they're like, you know who we need to bring our franchise out of the depths of scandal and of mediocrity? Bill fucking O'Brien, who single-handedly tanked an entire franchise with one stroke of the pen.
In the last 5 games that Trevor Lawrence has played, he has thrown 1 touchdown and 7 interceptions. This game could be rough. We now have a battle of the northern cities that are miserable in the month of January, and that is Pittsburgh and Baltimore.
Are there ever times where Pittsburgh or Baltimore are not miserable?
No, just especially in the winter. Like the summer, it could at least maybe be nice a little bit. I don't think Pittsburgh would be bad in the summer, but
yeah, but it's winter time. What are you going to do in Pittsburgh?
That's a good question. I'll actually be there in a few weeks, so I will let you know what there is to do. But
let me know.
I'll be I got passes, so I'll be covering the Syracuse Duke game in Cameron Indoor, the Syracuse Pittsburgh game at Pitt, and then the Boston College game in Massachusetts. So I'll be doing those 3 games, which would be pretty cool. So I'll get to see those out. The good news is that if the Pittsburgh game gets canceled, there's a Penguins game that night, so I'll have at least something to do in Pittsburgh. But which I will be going to if that happens. But Steelers-Ravens up in M&T Bank Stadium in Baltimore, Maryland. Obviously, both these teams are not very good this season. But both these teams, shockingly, still have a chance. Pretty obviously that the loser in this game is very clearly going to be gone and done. But the winner in this game actually does have an outside shot at making something happen. So that is a little bit crazy, but there still is a chance. Obviously, the Steelers do have better odds to get in with a tie instead of a loss. They're 8-7-1 versus the 8-8 Ravens. But overall, this game, the Steelers' odds only go up to 14% from 7% with a win, and the Ravens' odds go from 2% to 3%, even with a win. The Ravens are very, very unlikely to make it. They also have to have the Raiders win. They also have to have the Colts lose. And then they have to have the Patriots win. So if you're a Ravens fan, you got to pull for the Ravens. You got to pull for the Raiders. You got to pull for the Pats. And then you make it. But unless all 3 of those games go in exactly that order, that's probably not going to happen. And 4, you have to have the Jags win. But while the Patriots actually could very likely win, and even if the Patriots lose to the Dolphins, the Ravens are actually automatically eliminated no matter what happens to them. So that game has to go their way. But basically, it's very much difficult that's going to happen. Despite all of that, I'm going to be going on a little bit of a limb here, and I'm going to think the Ravens are going to win this game. And the reason why is because Pittsburgh has been god-awful on the road. They're 8-7-1, but 2-5 on the road. And the Ravens, being 8-8, are 5-3, a little bit stronger at home. Now, I get Lamar Jackson's not playing in this game, but we do have Tyler Huntley coming back, and I think that he can do a little bit of damage to this Pittsburgh defense that has been solid, but hasn't really been that much different than Baltimore this season. Overall, in yards allowed, they're basically the exact same, only 2 yards off. And the Pittsburgh defense has given up a lot on the ground. And what have the Ravens done especially great on defense this season? Protect the run. They've only allowed 85 yards per game on the rushing ground, which we know what Najee Harris is capable of doing, especially with this offense. He has been very solid this season as a rookie, and he could definitely be very limited against Baltimore that actually has a great rush defense. So that's my reasoning. This game is very much a toss-up game. There's Baltimore by 3 with a lot of players out. I think this is they're not really a bad pick here, but I'm going to go with Baltimore.
I'm going to go with Pittsburgh. I think we get the greatest old man game of all time out of Ben Roethlisberger. It could be, in fact, in all likelihood, probably will be Ben's last game in the NFL. I think we go out with the ultimate old man game, just some high highs and some very low lows. I think this is going to be a roller coaster ride, and I'm going with the Steelers on that roller coaster ride. This one's going to be a quick one. Tennessee versus Houston, and Tennessee clinches the 1 seed with a win.
Yeah, this game is pretty clearly Tennessee. I had no doubt about this looking at it. I have full faith they're going to win this game. if they do lose this game, I do get to make fun of you next episode. Be aware of that. If you lose to Houston and lose the 1 seed, definitely going to make fun of you because I want to get the win. I want to improve my record. I don't want them to lose this game.
I will allow you to make fun of me.
$17 tickets.
Yeah,
Houston.
I've also
$17 tickets.
Got the Titans in case anyone was confused about that. We have the Jets versus Buffalo. This one's going to be an easy one. Going with Buffalo.
You want to know how much ticket prices are starting for this game?
$6.
Ooh, close. $5. For an NFL game. Yeah,
went down in the last hour.
Being in the Buffalo Bills Stadium, I now understand why people that are away fans don't ever want to go in the winter. But I do have to give it a little bit of credit. The concessions were oddly very good. They had great concessions, which was very bizarre. Not cheap concessions, but they were good concessions.
I can't believe you went to Buffalo and didn't go get like the best wings of all time. But I'm
not a big wings guy. I know that's sacrilegious up there, but I'm just not a big wings guy. But I know they would be amazing. But
that would be the first place I would go.
I'm actually debating going to the wild card game. I'm been looking into that, which would be kind of nuts. But it could be against the Patriots. I think is most likely right now. If they win, it's against the Pats. So that would be nuts. I'll look into it. We now have the San Francisco 49ers against the LA Rams in a much nicer weather game in SoFi Stadium. A little bit nicer than what the Bills are going to experience. But that game is our second of the 3:25 games. Again, Central time now because we're actually both on Central again. So this game, a little more expensive, $148 is your lowest price. So a little bit more expensive, but this game could be a lot of fun. And I'm going to be rolling with the Rams in this game. I think they're a much better team. They're 3 games up on the Niners. Both these teams have actually been pretty good on the road and at home, respectively. But I'm gonna go with the Rams here.
So I'm picking the Rams. I'm a little wary of that because San Francisco could clinch the playoffs with a win. But, yeah, I'm still going to go with the Rams here. I think Jimmy G could blow it, and he's been hurt. We don't know how that's going to go. I think there's too many uncertainties for the
Rams need to win this game, though. That's also true. Yeah. The Rams have a lot of motivation to get the division.
That's true.
And they want to get that
division.
Yeah.
Next up, New England versus Miami. And I've got New England winning this game, but I'm going to be honest, I haven't looked at the injury report or who's going to be out for this game.
I am going with the Dolphins purely because of the fact that it's just every season. Like, I don't know why, but every year, last week of the season,
Dolphins victory.
The Dolphins always get it. And they've also beaten the Patriots the last 2 games in a row anyway. This will be their 3rd in a row. So I don't know why. But every time these teams play, the Dolphins seem to find a way in Miami every time. And I don't know why they do it, but we just keep seeing it. And so because of that, I think it's very possible to happen. I do think that the injury report seems pretty normal here. I think most teams look pretty good to go for this game. I'm pretty sure. I'm looking at it right now. But I don't know. I don't even think that matters, frankly. I just think it's Miami in this game tends to be really successful. They just do it a lot of the time. I don't know why. It's very strange, but I really feel like that they seem to have leg up on teams. And so I'm actually looking right now at the injury report for this game that is coming up.
No one very important is out. We've got a couple Patriots.
I didn't think it mattered too much who is out for this game, but I'm still rolling with Miami, and this is purely a principal pick. I just feel like they just do well in this game, and we'll see if the Pats right the ship a little bit. Again, this game, it does mean something for them as it would help them get the division, but frankly, they would have to have the Bills lose, which is very, very unlikely. So I don't really think this game is extremely meaningful.
All right, burning through the next couple games, we got Seattle versus Arizona. Seattle's not good, and Arizona's still fighting for a division title. So
no reason. I don't see Seattle at all in this game.
Yeah,
they last week, but they're not doing it again.
And then we've got the Panthers versus the Bucks. And despite all the AB saga, there's no way the Panthers are going to win this game. They don't have a quarterback. They don't have anyone that can like functionally play quarterback in the NFL.
The Panthers are a truly sad franchise. Again, we talked about this before, but like as much as it is to be sad to be a Falcons fan, like God, being a Panthers fan would suck. So they're down horrendously right now. They're not going to do anything in this game. And our final game we have up, which would be probably one of the most entertaining games of the whole
It is
weekend.
the do or die game. It got flexed to Sunday Night Football for a reason.
This is the big one. And actually, despite the line only being -3 for LA, I'm really confident in the Chargers in this game. I really like them. I really like them. Even though, again, it's a tight game. Everyone's talking about how tight it is. But Herbert is much better than Carr. Eckler has been much better than Jacobs. I mean, it's a lot of big pieces on this team are just better for the Chargers. And they really don't have anybody out in this game. Darren Waller and Josh Jacobs are still questionable for the Raiders anyway. I don't think he'll be out, but Darren Waller and Josh Jacobs and Jonathan Haskins are all going to be game time decisions or game day decisions. So right now it looks like they're all still a little bit iffy on whether they're actually going to play. But I just don't have I don't really have a ton of faith in this team, unfortunately. I don't have a lot of faith in what the Raiders can do here, even though I commend them on having a great season. I
think specifically the game from 2 weeks ago leaves a lot of fans with a bad taste in their mouth after watching the Chargers kind of blow it. However, that was their COVID game. They got everybody back. I think they're a significantly better team than the Raiders. And yeah, I've got Chargers big in this game.
Yeah, I like that
Chargers
too.
-3. But that will do it. If that is all for you, Jack, that is all for me. That'll do it for this episode of the Blanket Coverage Podcast. Once again, we thank you so much for listening. We will be back this week. But quickly, let's get a national championship pick. Who you got? We don't have to break it down. I just want to pick.
I know. I had Georgia to beat Michigan to try to jinx them. And it failed, and Georgia won anyway. So because of that, I'll go with Alabama because apparently the jinx doesn't work anymore. So I feel better about that.
I gotta go. I gotta go with Bama.
The narrative.
I don't want it to happen. I want Georgia to win. I want the SEC East to finally get some credit. But I don't know that I can't pick against Nick Saban.
My winner in this game is me because I won't have to watch. That's the winner in this game because I'm not going to watch this game because I have no interest in either team winning, and it's either going to be irritating or stressful. And to me, I'm like, I just play college football revamped on my PC instead of watching that. So I would much rather rebuild the New Mexico Lobos than watch Alabama Georgia. So no interest in that game for me.
That's fair. But once again, thanks so much for listening. Jack, enjoy your Mavericks game today. And we will be back with you next week to preview the playoffs. Playoffs. Yeah, we got playoffs next week.
Looking forward to it.
Sports. Thanks so much for listening, y'all. For now, I'm Noah Parker.
And I'm Jack Wallace. Peace out, y'all.